Asubuhi ya leo magazeti mengi ya Kenya yanakubaliana habari kuu ni gani, na ndio hii: Uhuru Gachagua wategana. Anasema rais mstaafu na aliyekuwa naibu rais wapigania ubabe wa Mlima Kenya. Mzozo wa kisiasa unatokota kati ya rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta na aliyekuwa naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua unaweka hatarini juhudi za kubuni muungano wa upinzani nchini, huku kila mmoja wao akijisawiri kama msemaji mkuu wa eneo la Mlima Kenya. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili. We've been discussing this story since Monday. Sasa hii magazeti yote yameamua this is the big story today. Itabidi tuzungumzie tu tena. Na kwanza leo tuko na Jonyo ule wa Murang'a. Na tuko na ule jamaa wa Belgut, Nelson Koech, na David Soi ule wa David Kiplagat ule wa Soi. So, nani ndio msemaji wa Mlima Kenya? Who's the kingpin? Who owns the mountain? That's a question actually. Vidokezo zaidi kwenye ukurasa wa mbele: IEBC kutumia mboni ya jicho kusajili. And I saw someone talking about this, that they were actually scanning the iris of those people who are showing up to register for as voters. So they're using your eye biometrics.
Why?
I don't know, it's never happened before, but wanasema IEBC kutumia mboni ya jicho kujisajili. So usistuke sana, teknolojia mpya ya usajili wa wapiga kura inajumuisha kunasa mboni za macho, sio fingerprint tu. Unakuja unaweka jicho, wanaangalia. And you remember there's a time some organization, international organization came to Kenya, wakakuja wakajaribu kufanya hivyo, watu wakakasirika sana.
Yeah.
Sababu ya uchaguzi kuwa ghali bado ni masuala ya IEBC. Ukosefu wa imani kwa IEBC miongoni mwa Wakenya ndio sababu, according to huyo mwenyekiti anaitwa Ethicon wa IEBC. Unajua ile election ya 2027 will cost about 61 billion shillings. The by-elections that are coming up in November will cost about 10.2 billion shillings. Meanwhile, the registration of voters will cost about 7 billion shillings.
Okay.
Ni pesa tu, mabilioni ya pesa.
So walipewa 57
billion
wakakataa.
Wale watu wa Tanzania wakuja wako na mabilioni kwa pesa watupe. Jirani, poleni lakini. Kwingineko, Dio aeleza ukatili wa Al-Shabaab na masuala ya Marekani. Trump atoa masharti kwa Hamas, masuala ya Middle East. Kule juu, kitengo cha kukabili mimba za utotoni kuundwa, kitengo kipya kulinda wasichana kutokana na mimba ya mapema na walimu dhalimu. Alafu jana nilisikia waziri wa afya akisema sasa going forward teenage mothers will not be charged. So watu walikuwa wanamuuliza, are you encouraging teenage pregnancy by telling them they won't be charged at hospital? Yeah.
No, it's not encouraging. You know, I don't understand why people are mad by that statement. Because looking at it, I know your story, Linda Mama and Linda Jamii, that is what is making people mad. But Linda Mama was also prioritizing teenage mothers because they're a vulnerable group of people. So, you know, the jitters about Linda Jamii, watu wamejam, like they're wondering why we are prioritizing teenage mothers. They're a vulnerable group. So addressing free delivery does not address the outcome. Does not address the cause, it addresses the outcome.
And you're passionate about this.
I'm passionate about health. You know that.
All right. So yes, definitely a big debate there. Maswala ya spoti. UEFA, vigogo wa klabu bingwa Ulaya ama windoni, miamba wa Denmark watakunjua jamvi la msururu wa mechi wakikabili wanyonge wa Azerbaijan leo. Naitwa wanyonge hao. Gazeti la taifa leo.
All right, and it's funny because it's the very first time natetea the health CS. I'm like, out of order so many times.
I think the way he sounds, even his tone, just comes out wrong.
Yeah.
When he talks about teenage mothers. And I agree with you, probably it's something that should be lauded, but when it comes from the current CS of health, people just take it in the wrong way. Yeah.
We have to know that teenage pregnancies are already on the rise in this country as well. Daily Nation, Uhuru move jolts Ruto and Gachagua. They ask second chance after his botched 2022 succession plan. Jubilee leader is back. Now, twice in 8 months, retired President Uhuru Kenyatta has held talks with his successor, William Ruto, giving the impression of a ceasefire by the former allies turned force. But the return of Mr. Kenyatta to the political arena with a bare knuckles attack on the government has collapsed the short-lived truce and also upset opposition leaders who are not spared his stinging criticism. What is he up to? This story has been covered on page 4. On Red-Bus government, the president and ODM leader Raila Odinga's allies have attacked Mr. Kenyatta for his harsh criticism of the manner in which the country is being governed. Na kule United Opposition, the revival of Jubilee Party and association with former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has triggered furious reactions from the former Deputy President's camp. Uhuru move jolts Ruto and Gachagua. Other stories here on the front page of the Daily Nation. Team to probe school sex pests. And the Education Ministry will set up a specialized unit to address rising cases of teenage pregnancies. You see, since January 2024, 69 teachers have been sacked by the TSC for sexually abusing learners. Former DO recounts Al-Shabaab captivity. This is Edward Yese, then a district officer in Wajir County. He was one of the people who was kidnapped. Was it in January?
Oh, yes, yes. The chiefs were kidnapped.
Hapa wanasema in January 2012, Edward Yese, then a district officer in Wajir County, was kidnapped by Al-Shabaab terrorists. He speaks out in his harrowing ordeal during his 19 months in captivity in Somalia. Okay, this is 2012, all right. Ex-KNH boss, 229 million shillings cash assets frozen in graft war. That is Evanson Kamuru, Dr. Evanson Kamuru. And finally, IEBC blames mistrust for 61 billion shillings elections budget. On the back page, Kenyan coach Ali has big plans for Mogadishu club. This Somali football is unstable, but we are holding on, says tactician. And how mission to shed off weight shaped Lagat into celebrated marathoner.
How Mogadishu club ni wale walikuja wakacheza na flag, ama their fans.
That
fans. Si wachezaji.
Actually,
ni
mashabiki. They are minors. It's 14 and 17.
Tunataka kujua kama ni minors. Usicheze bendera. Sema usiguze mlima, usiguze bendera tafadhali. Gazeti la Daily Nation. Same story, same theme on the front page of the Star. Big war rocks Gachagua and Uhuru wings. Ni kama watu walikutana, all the editors of all the major newspapers wakutana wakaketi chini wakaamua now. Story ni hii. Competing ambitions to control Mount Kenya, vendettas at play. That's a story on pages 4 and 5. That's a spread on the Star. Same thing that we've been talking about. What does this mean? Uhuru's return. Anakuja, anauma upande moja, anauma upande ile ingine ya Gachagua, na aliwaambia hizo mambo ya regional parties. Mimi hata msiniita ati nikuje niwasaidie ati kingpin nini. Mimi sitaki hiyo maneno. Na upande mwingine nawaambia mimi ile kazi yote nilifanya mumeimwagilia maji. Uhuru Kenyatta, very interesting. I like that he has now jolted everyone into action. If at all politically you speak and no one responds to you,
you're doing nothing.
Well, uko. Lakini kama unazungumza tu hivi kitu kidogo na kila mtu including the president had to respond to Uhuru Kenyatta, means that you're actually consequential. Yeah. Other stories on the front page of this paper. Disease leaves fish farmers with huge losses. And there's a very worrying picture there of a cage filled with dead tilapia after a mysterious disease swept Kisumu's Dunga Beach. Natakula samaki kweli. That story is on page 25 of this paper. For fish lovers, this is a story that you may want to pay attention to. Yes, inside IEBC's 10 billion shilling plan to register 6.3 million voters. So the IEBC has unveiled, hata nilisema 7, sasa hapa inasema according to this story, 9.6 billion strategy to register at least 6.3 million. Sasa unatumia 9.6 billion to register 6.3 million voters. Hebu fanya hiyo hesabu tujue ni pesa ngapi per voter to register one voter. Yeah. The commission will rely on constituency offices, Huduma centers, ward-based drives, institutions of higher learning and diaspora registration to meet the ambitious target. The story is on page 7. How Kandara man escaped grisly accident that claimed 16 lives. That's the story about the accident at Kariandusi along the Nairobi-Nakuru highway that claimed the lives of 16 members of one family. Pale juu, Obado's 235 million shilling anti-graft deal at risk after EACC rejects plea bargain. Aliambiwa arudishe vitu na ODPP wakakubaliana naye arudishe pesa fulani alafu amwachilie. EACC wamesema hiyo tumekataa.
Obado asafari.
Hiyo tumekataa. Nakwambia, maisha inaweza kugeuka vibaya sana. Chunga sana. All right. hapa nilikuwa nimeona ama siko hii gazeti, maybe ni gazeti ingine. All right, that's the Star.
All right, People Daily, who owns the mountain is a question they ask on the front page of the People Daily this morning. Battle lines, Uhuru, Ruto and Gachagua in 2027 showdown. This is on page 4. At sasa wanaweka William Ruto pia tikwa who owns the mountain.
No, the thing is, William Ruto actually got the most votes from the mountain in 2022. So watu wana assume kama mulimpatia kura means that to some extent you had accepted him.
Si Gachagua alikuwa hapo.
There are those who argue. Now, ujaisikia wanasema, oh, William Ruto got the votes himself. No one can claim that he's the one who took William Ruto to the mountain.
Oh, wow, okay. Very nice. Very nice. CS
You don't believe in that, do you?
Where? Koma. CS Wahome on the spot, over 1.3 billion shillings. Loresho Landro. On the top strip, why Bukusu and Maragoli rivalry may end with Natembeya.
Hebu soma hiyo tena.
Why Bukusu Maragoli rivalry? What did I say?
No. Umesema vizuri, but it's almost
with
a tongue
Natembeya.
twister. Maragoli rivalry.
All right, that's the People Daily this morning.
All right, from the People Daily, let's take a look at matters. Huh? Oh, so this is the only paper that decided to go with a different story altogether, the Standard. So they talk about rouser SGs, and they're calling them loose tongues. Kenya's political parties are reeling from a new wave of indiscipline as secretaries general, once trusted to be the official voices of their movements, morph into political mercenaries. From ODM's Edwin Sifuna to Jubilee's Jeremiah Kioni and UDA's Hassan Omar, the misuse of party logos and platforms to settle personal scores is fueling bitter contradictions, sowing confusion and raising questions over whether party leaders or their renegade secretaries truly speak for the rank and file. Now, and after reading this statement, I can get where it's coming from. In response to one of the headlines that the Standard had written or published, this SG of UDA wrote and made reference to the said owner of the paper, who was the son of a former president. Na alafu akamuita, addressing him, Gideon blah blah blah, akamuita retired son of a former president. Now is a president retired, or is this a retired son of someone? If I call you a retired daughter of your mother,
I am disowned.
Can you retire from being a child of your parent? So they called him with the complete party logo and what do you call that thing in Kapale? Ile karatasi officially ya chama, alafu anamwandikia anamwambia retired son of a former president. So that story continues on page 4. And on page 4 they even include the deputy party leader of DCP. Wanasema pia anaongea sana. Lakini wamequote hapa Sabina Chege anasema, in my view, what secretary generals should not occupy other elective positions. They should only communicate the decisions reached by the party organs. Most of them are conflicted on certain issues, and when they speak, their remarks are mistaken to be those of their political parties. Rogue SGs, thin line between loose tongues and party positions. Hawajaambiwa poa. Hapo hamjaambiwa poa, poleni.
Who is the DCP Secretary General?
Hata tujui, tunajua tu deputy party leader na party leader. Alafu tunajua ule wakili anaitwa nani? Ndegwa Njiru, huyo piga kelele sana. Medics to down tools, that's another story on the front page of this paper, with doctors, clinical officers and laboratory staff threatening to rally behind their striking Kiambu colleagues who have been on strike for 4 months. The country is staring at paralysis of services that could plunge patients into unprecedented suffering. That story is on page 6, and they use the image there of the SG KMPDU. To Bavji? Davji.
Atala. Davji Atala.
That one. AGOA. Kenya looks to China for duty-free exports, and this is following the expiry of the AGOA deal with the US at midnight. So we do expect that probably they're pursuing a new deal. If they don't, 65,000 jobs are on the line. That's the Standard. Kule nyuma kuna story moja niliona, watu wa Manu hawatafurahia sana. William Saliba commits future 5 years deal to Arsenal with new contracts. Mopko iwogo.
Finally,
Business Daily.
Business Daily, where investors made their money in the last 3 months, and they say shares at the NSE rewarded investors with the highest returns in the third quarter of the year, eclipsing bonds and cash deposits, whose gains dropped in the wake of falling interest rates. Now they're saying investors walieka mpesa yao hapo kwa Nairobi Securities Exchange, how they made their money. Due to the interest of time, how Ethiopia saved Kenya from power rationing and blackouts, another story on page 2 of the Business Daily this morning. On the ticker, state eyes 2.7 billion shillings relief from forest concession deals. SACCOs recruit 637,696 members as deposits hit 749 billion shillings. And finally, Family Bank 6 shareholders nod for Nairobi Bourse listing. Right. That's the Business Daily.
Tuangalie wachoraji wanasema nini. Just a reminder, Jonyo to